Right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to Dispatches from the Field, an exciting new initiative from the Explorers Club designed to better pull our global community together from wherever everyone is in the world. And we know that that can be far and wide. Um, if you are new to Dispatches, let me give you a little bit of an idea of how this works. We have a featured speaker that's going to speak for about 10 minutes, sharing some amazing tales about what it is that they're working on. And then we'll split into what we call campfire sessions, which are breakout groups, allowing you to be able to better connect with members, make some good friendships, maybe some new collaborations for expeditions. Who knows? But that's where some magic happens. We'll also make sure that the featured speaker has the opportunity to rotate around in those different campfire sessions because we'll know everybody has questions. So, with that, welcome. Glad you're here. Let's dive in with who it is that's going to be sharing their work today. Please join me in welcoming Yuri Sanada, an award-winning Brazilian filmmaker, explorer, and environmental activist, joining us today from the field in Mozambique. He is a fellow of the Explorers Club. Yuri has led scientific expeditions across 6 continents, produced Brazil's first IMAX film, Amazon Adventure 3D, and earned 2 Luminaire Awards from the Hollywood Advanced Imaging Society. He also co-founded Afro-Origins Institute, which recently discovered the wreck of the brig Cambargo, the last known slave ship to arrive in Brazil. In one of his many adventures, he crossed the Atlantic in a replica 600 BC Phoenician vessel, helping prove ancient civilizations could cross oceans. He works from his sustainable home in Brazil or wherever exploration takes him, and he continues to produce powerful film and TV projects that illuminate our planet's cultural and ecological legacy. We're thrilled to have him today. Please join me in welcoming Yuri.
Hello, Brandy. Thank you for the introduction. I'm here now at this island of Mozambique. It's the little island that gave the name to the whole country. What we're doing here, we're researching a slave shipwreck. We think it's a slave shipwreck that was identified. And I'm here with Slave Wrecks Project. Let me just explain what's that. Well, first, my name is Yuri Sanada. I'm from Brazil. I'm a filmmaker, and I have a company, Aventuras Produções, with my wife, Vera, for, now it's about 30 years. We like to focus on environmental history, love history, mysteries, trying to share some of, those big mysteries and try to find solutions or at least new ideas about that. So we did stay around Africa for 2 years with Philip Beard, captain from England, on board a Phoenician ship from 600 BC. And then we crossed the ocean. This ship now is in America, and there will be a museum for that ship, hopefully in the near future. And I'm here now in the island of Mozambique with the Slave Wrecks Project. The Slave Wrecks Project is an initiative that Steve Lubeckman and Paul Gardulo started. Steve is the head of anthropology of the George Washington Museum, George Washington University, and Paul Gardulo from the National Museum of African American History and Culture at Smithsonian. They started that movement in 2008 to research or trying to find slave shipwrecks and investigate them. Which is interesting because if you think about shipwrecks and historical shipwrecks, we have hundreds of World War I, World War II, ancient Greeks, Roman, even Phoenician ships that have been studied. But on the slave trade, on the Atlantic slave trade specifically, only 6 have been found and studied so far. This theme was kind of taboo for a long time. Only in 2008, when they started the Slave Wrecks Project, they start really looking for those ships and now studying them. So this project, SWP, was started by the George Washington University, Ezekiel Museum, South Africa, U.S. National Parks and Service, South Africa Heritage Resources Agency in South Africa, and then the Smithsonian Museum, National Museum of African American History and Culture joined with Diving with a Purpose, a group of divers that look for those shipwrecks as well. And then how we joined this group, because we founded Afro-Origins Institute in 2000. Well, I had the idea. I knew there was an old slave shipwreck in Brazil, somewhere near Rio de Janeiro, and it was supposed to be the last slave ship that brought enslaved Africans to Brazil, 1852. It sank there. It was an American ship called the Camargo that sailed from San Francisco around the Cape, was supposed to take a cargo of pellets to New York, but in Rio, he decided to come to Mozambique, bring 500 enslaved Africans to Brazil. And when he got there, he was already, being chased by the British Navy and American Navy and Brazilian Navy. He set the ship on fire after he delivered his cargo in Brazil and became a very famous shipwreck. And then in 2021, we decided to make this into a production from my company, a documentary and even a feature film. And then we decided to start searching for the shipwreck. And we joined this network, Smithsonian, and they helped us with funding to find the Camargo, which we did in December 2023. Since then, we applied and we got U.S. Ambassadors Fund grant last year to help to find, research and preserve whatever we find in the Camargo. So that's happening now until to 2027. We hope to have big findings there. Similarly, here in Mozambique, they have on the other side of the Atlantic a similar ship called the L'Aurore. L'Aurore is a French ship that set sail in 1789 from the Mauritius Islands, came to Mozambique to pick up again enslaved Africans and take them to the French Caribbean. But it's a very tragic story, and you're seeing now the Fort de São Sebastião, Portuguese fort. The ship was here in 1790, and when they were boarding the Africans to take to the Caribbean, there was a rebellion. So 356 Africans aboard. They had a big rebellion. They didn't want to go. That's a good lesson for us. They didn't, just take it and let me take to America. No, let's fight. So they fought, 4th round, but unfortunately the rebellion was not successful. So they were kept aboard. A month later, just before they left Mozambique to go to the Americas, there was a big storm, and mostly the men were locked inside the ship. The storm carried the ship away, and it hit a few reefs just in front of this fort here, and sank. And of course, because they feared the rebellion, they didn't let anybody out. So what they did is they let 331 men die in that storm. So it was a mass murder that night by the French on L'Aurore. And then in 2015, the Shipwrecks project, they decided to try to locate this vessel, this shipwreck, and understand more about the slave trade. So that's what they did. And in 2022, after researching a lot of different places here in around Mozambique Island, they found what is supposed to be the L'Aurore, the remains of the L'Aurore. And that's what we've been doing here. We've been investigating that. I'm not an archaeologist. I'm not a historian, although I wrote a few books about history. But I'm here as a documentarist. I'm documenting everything that's happening and trying to, at the end of the discoveries, produce a documentary, produce a few materials that can be shared with the world. Because I think it's worth to, and this is our group there, the place we're staying now. It's a small hotel here. It's a old Portuguese colonial house that we rent. And we're staying here, and from here we go to the port and we go research every day, dive on that shipwreck. I was saying that it's very important to look for those forgotten history, because people don't have an idea. It's the African diaspora took 3.5 centuries. It was 350 years of slavery. People bringing everybody mostly from Africa and taking them to Cuba, Brazil, America for a little bit, but then mostly Brazil and Cuba, take them to America. Imagine for 3.5 centuries, if you take from your place all the talents, all the doctors and writers and scientists and whoever has value, and take them to another country to cut sugar cane, you practically destroy a civilization. That's what was done to them. So it's interesting to look at for these shipwrecks now that we can, and tell the story of these people and tell what happened and what happened since, because many of the fortunes that are still around today, they came from the sugar cane, they came from this slave shipwreck. I used to joke, if you think what's the best chocolate in the world, it's a Swiss chocolate, right? So show me where there's a cocoa tree in Switzerland. There's none. It all came from Brazil or from Ghana, or from slave work. So that's how the fortunes were made, and that's still perdures. So what we do here it has a resonance in the economies in the world, and this story has to be told. That's why we're doing the research. So what's nice about the shipwrecks project is that it's not only like the old days they used to do archaeology, people from Europe or from America going to a place and researching. No, it's more like joining forces with the locals. And here in Mozambique, we have Kairin with my friend Cesar, Dr. Cesar, and Celso and Ricardo Duarte and others who formed this research entity in Mozambique. And together, the group brings resources and bring human resources and also finance to help tell these stories. So it's a collaboration. That's why I'm here from Brazil with my friends Gilson, Felipe, and Mac. We're here to help them investigate their past, which is also our past because it connects with Brazil. Of course, you cannot tell the history of slavery, African diaspora, without talking about what happened in Africa and how it happened in Americas as well. So it's a global thing we have to tell. And these are a few pictures of the shipwreck site. That's why we are diving. Of course, it's protected by federal law here, and we are investigating with utmost care. And the idea, like I said, is to preserve as much as possible the history, discover, and then release this history to the world and let people know what happened and how we can prevent it, from happening again, hopefully. So the nice thing about this story, about this connection, is that we are here with an international team. We have, for instance, Steve Lubeckman from GW. We have Jaco Boshoff from Ezekiel Museum, South Africa. We have Cesar Maham, Celso Sebin, Kairin, Majik Wien from Eureka in Senegal. We have our guys from Brazil, Gilson Rabelli and Luis Felipe Santos and Mac. Jonathan Schaffen from NYU in Abu Dhabi, and we have Marc-André Bernier from Canada. He used to be from Parks, Canada, and Gabriel Miller from the Smithsonian as well, and the local people that I mentioned, and other many volunteers. And also, we are not only researching, we're also the group. We teach them, the locals, how to become, divers, scuba divers, and how to become divers or monitors. So in the future, they can take care of their own history. So we don't have to be here as a group, but the locals, they're going to be learning archaeology and documenting, filming, scuba diving, how to become a dive guides, so they can take care and use this in a more sustainable way for themselves. Of course, this kind of stories has a cultural element that can help bring tourists here, and that can really help the locals, and that's what we're doing. So the group now, like I said, the Senegal, South Africa, Brazil, Mozambique, the US, Caribbean, Brazil. So it's a big group that we are together researching these shipwrecks. Just to finish, I told you it was 350 years of slave trading. Most of it was illegal, or at least at the end. And the numbers are very interesting. There were like 12,000 voyages, slave voyages across the Atlantic with, 12,000 ships. And at least 1,000 of those ships sank. Like I said, we only found and researched so far 6 have been studied. So there's a lot of things to learn from this practice, the slavery, which I call one of maybe the greatest crime against mankind. That destroy nations in Africa, and of course destroy them in Brazil as well. So, and other places. So that's what we're doing here.
Yuri, thank you so much. The photos are beautiful, and I know that you just sent those in to us last night, since you've been collecting all of these brand new. So we're literally getting live photos. Nelson had a great question. Can you touch on some of the artifacts that your team has found on this particular site?
Well, no, we haven't really found. There's some nice, interesting artifacts. Other thing that I have to mention is this. There's a war. There's a war between the underwater archaeologists and treasure hunters. Because this shipwreck itself, they have 3 spots where the treasure hunters came long before with, corruption and support of local government and stuff and other people. Of course, they are from outside the country. And they dug 3 wells with sometimes with dynamite. So they just destroyed the whole shipwreck, just trying to find gold or some valuable. So we do have at the museum with Kairin, I just actually photographed them yesterday, some things that they left that was not valued to them. So there's like I said, a war. And if you go around the island here, other places in the world, in Cape Verde and Brazil, many places, Where the treasure hunters got there, they just make a hole in the shipwreck. They don't care about history. They just try to get as much as they can, whatever is valuable, lead or gold or whatever, and then leave the country with that. So we do have some parts of guns, cannons, some cannon balls, some ceramica that being studied. But this shipwreck is still not officially identified. There's a lot of new discoveries to be made. That's the third year that group is investigating here since they found it. So that's exciting because there's a lot of things to dig and try to find whatever was in the cargo hold. I hope we don't find skeletons because 331 people died there. So it's also a war, a burial site. So we have to treat it with respect as well.
Of course, it needs to be treated with respect. And I think that you really hit on something important too, of the fact that you're taking tragedy, something that has happened, it's horrible within our history, but also trying to really turn it into something that can be beneficial for the locals, training them in diving, making sure that it opens up potential economic opportunities for tourism as well, and really empowering them to take care of these sites and this history also.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, please.
Here, the lobster, cava cava, is the price of the chicken. So I've been eating lobster for the price of chicken. So guys, come have some nice diving, look at the history, and have some amazing seafood here.
I bet. Mark had a question that you've got beautiful photographs. I'm sure he'll compliment you that on that certainly in the campfire session. But his question was wondering how the Portuguese got into the slave trade from East Africa as compared to West Africa.
Well, it's like I said, it's a long history and 350 years. So this was a French ship. No, not only the Portuguese. I mean, everybody who had some money to invest. It was a big investment at the time. Towards the end, it's 1790, but the one we found in Brazil, 1852, that's when it sank there. They had to be creative. They had to go far and places to go to try to avoid the British Navy and the American Navy that at the time was chasing them. So, but there were some main ports like in East Africa and West Africa where they used to get the people. So the locals, of course, it's out through corruption those days, all the centuries ago. But they have a system where they have the ports and the slave shipwrecks or slave captains knew where to go to get to buy or trade this human life. So you'll have some interesting, like here in Kilimani or other places where they used to come and get people. And they used to, like I said, travel around, depend on the value of the human cargo. It's very sad.
One more question for you, Yuri, before we split into the campfire session. And this is coming from Kate. Very much enjoyed your talk and amazing on the stunning photos. Did your team use photogrammetry to document the Loire wreck? And she's curious if you manage imaging in turbid or dynamic water conditions, particularly since she's preparing a 3D scan on World War II plane wreck. And Kate, we may be able to get into that a little bit more in the campfire sessions, but please, Yuri, that would be an interesting pardon me, interesting facts to know.
Yeah, we do. The team here, actually, the group got together, the international team is not only to research the Aurora, also to make the team or the group better, project better. So we have seminars here, we have all discussion. At least 4 or 5 of our doctors here, archaeology, including the Africans and the Brazilian, they know how to make a photogrammetry, and they've been doing that. What I do is mostly think about the documentary, and I also take 360 degrees footage. So we're going to prepare a VR visitation of the shipwreck. People who cannot go and dive can do that virtually with those goggles. But one thing that is nice to share is that in Brazil, on the Camargo, it's at the mouth of a river, so it's zero visibility. You cannot see anything. There's like 3 feet of mud or silt. So as soon as you dive, there's zero. You cannot see your partner, your buddy. So it's really difficult. What I do, I put the camera inside plastic bags, clear plastic bags, and I bring clean water from the surface. I lock the cameras inside, so I bring my own clean water to the bottom. So I touch the subject I want to film, and against this plastic water, so the camera can see through the clean water and see whatever is there. The only way we can do that. So there are many tricks to do that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, especially since that's your area of expertise. How do we make sure that we get the images that we need to tell the story as well? All right, everyone. hang tight for a moment, and I think we'll be able to split into the campfire sessions, and you'll be able to ask Yuri direct questions a little bit more to find out about his work and meet some other members. You'll be automatically shuffled, so just hang tight.